Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Discipline. It's one of those topics, right? It feels like it's always top of mind for parents. And I know from talking to so many of you, it can be tough to navigate, right? All the different advice out there, figuring out what actually works. It's a lot.
Oh, for sure. I think every parent has those moments where they're like, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? It's so easy to feel judged or overwhelmed by it all.
Exactly. And we're not just talking about getting our kids to, sit still for 5 minutes. It's about helping them develop those skills they need to actually thrive emotionally, socially, the whole 9 yards.
Right. To grow into those well-rounded, resilient humans we all hope they'll become.
That's the goal, isn't it? And that's what we're digging into today.
Yeah, we're going to be taking a deep dive into a book that really resonated with us called Discipline Without Damage by Dr. Vanessa Lapointe.
And what really stood out to us, I think, is that it challenges a lot of those conventional discipline tactics we've all heard about, even tried.
Timeouts, consequences, reward charts, all that stuff. It really makes you think about whether those methods are actually helpful in the long run.
So for anyone listening who's maybe struggling with discipline, feeling like they're not quite getting it right, this deep dive is for you.
We want to give you some really practical insights from Dr. Lapointe's work, especially if you've got kids in that, say, birth to 8 range, though a lot of this applies beyond that too.
So buckle up. We're going deep.
Deep dive time.
So let's jump right in. The book kind of throws a curveball right away by saying that a lot of those go-to discipline tactics, those things we think of as, the standard tools, might not actually be addressing the root of the problem.
Right, like timeouts, consequences, even threats or punishments. They often focus on the behavior itself, but not what's driving that behavior.
And what is it that's driving those, those tantrums, those meltdowns, all that fun stuff?
Well, Dr. Lapointe says it often comes down to kids just not being able to manage their emotions yet.
Okay. Yeah, their brains are still developing.
Exactly. They're not trying to be difficult or manipulative. Their emotional regulation skills just haven't fully caught up yet.
So they haven't learned how to handle those big feelings. Makes sense.
Yeah. So imagine, you're a kid and you're faced with something that feels challenging, overwhelming.
Like being told they can't have that candy bar at the checkout. Been there.
Right. And they don't have the tools to deal with that disappointment, that frustration.
So it comes out as a meltdown.
Bingo.
Okay, so that's kind of the setup. But then the book introduces this idea of discipline vortex, which sounds a little scary.
It's not as scary as it sounds. Basically, it's this cycle that can happen when we rely on those traditional discipline methods that focus on separation or withdrawal of affection.
Like sending them to their room or taking away a privilege.
Yeah, things like that. And what happens is it triggers their attachment system, their deepest need for connection, especially when they're already stressed out.
Right, so they're already feeling overwhelmed, and then we're kind of adding to that stress.
Exactly. So they might stop the behavior in the moment because they're so desperate to get that connection back, but the underlying emotional need hasn't been met.
So it's a quick fix, but it doesn't actually solve the problem.
And what happens is it can lead to more dysregulation later on, more acting out. So we try to stop the behavior by disconnecting, but that disconnection actually makes them more likely to act out again.
That's where digging the hole deeper.
It's a vicious cycle.
And it's not just about the behavior in that moment. The book talks about how this kind of discipline can impact a child's sense of security, their sense of being loved unconditionally.
Right. If a child's main experience of discipline is being sent away, feeling isolated, it can send the message that our love depends on them behaving perfectly.
Which is, an impossible standard.
And think about it. For a child, that connection with their parents, their caregivers, it's their whole world. It's their safety net. If that feels unreliable, if it feels like it could be taken away, that's a really scary feeling.
It shakes their foundation.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, we have all this societal pressure to have these perfectly behaved kids. It's like we're constantly being judged,
Oh, I feel that. The pressure is real.
Right. Like everyone's watching. And if our kid has a meltdown in the grocery store, we're failures.
And that pressure can really push us towards those quick fixes, those methods that might quiet them down, but don't actually address what's going on underneath.
It's so true. We become so focused on managing how things look to others that we miss the opportunity to truly connect with our child and understand what they're needing.
So it's a big shift in perspective.
Huge.
Okay, so if those typical discipline tactics aren't the answer, what's the alternative? What's Dr. Lapointe's approach?
She's really advocating for a fundamental shift in how we think about discipline. And it starts with shifting our attention away from just the child's behavior.
So less about what did you do and more about understanding the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about understanding child development, recognizing that their brains are still under construction, and being curious about what's going on beneath the surface.
So becoming more of a detective than a judge.
Exactly. And the book even raises this really interesting point about the rising rates of anxiety and depression among kids these days. It makes you wonder if maybe some of our parenting approaches, our focus on outward behavior, might be contributing to that.
Yeah, it's hard not to wonder if we're doing something wrong when we see those statistics.
Right. And the book kind of prompts us to think about what's changed in recent generations. Maybe we've become more isolated as parents. Maybe there's more pressure on kids to achieve, to be perfect.
And all that pressure can trickle down to how we handle those challenging moments.
Exactly. Maybe we're not always creating that safe, supportive space for kids to just be kids, to make mistakes, to have those big feelings without feeling judged or punished for it.
And that brings us back to the importance of connection, which is really at the heart of Dr. Lapointe's approach.
Yeah.
That bond between a child and their big people, parents, caregivers, whoever those key adults are in their lives.
It's everything. It's the foundation for healthy development. It's how kids learn to trust, to feel safe, to regulate their emotions.
And the book makes this really important point that kids often communicate their needs through their behavior.
That what we might label as acting out is often a signal that something deeper is going on.
So those tantrums, those meltdowns, those moments that make us want to pull our hair out, they're often a cry for help.
Exactly. They're trying to tell us something.
Okay, so let's talk about the science behind this connection stuff, because it's not just a nice idea. There's real biology at play here, right?
Right, yeah. It's fascinating how deeply wired we are for connection. Even from birth, babies are seeking it out. They're looking for our gaze. They want that eye contact. And it triggers all sorts of amazing things in both the baby and the adult.
It's like that instant bonding moment.
Exactly. And there's this hormone, oxytocin, that gets released, which is often called the love hormone, the cuddle hormone.
Okay, so it's literally chemical.
It is. It plays a huge role in those feelings of love, bonding, attachment. And there's even a physical connection, too. The book mentions how fetal cells can actually migrate to the mother's body during pregnancy.
Wow, that's wild.
Right. It's like we're literally connected on a cellular level.
So we're wired for connection from the very beginning. And then the book brings in attachment theory, which kind of lays out the framework for how those early relationships shape a child's development.
John Bowlby was the pioneer there. He started developing this theory back in the 1930s, and it's still so relevant today. And one of the key takeaways is that the quality of those early relationships, especially with primary caregivers, has a huge impact on how a child develops emotionally, socially, even cognitively.
And there's that really famous experiment, the still face experiment, that really illustrates this in a powerful way. I've seen the videos and it's heartbreaking.
Oh, it gets you right in the feels. Basically, they have a mom or dad interacting with their baby normally, and then suddenly they just go blank. They stop responding, no emotions, no eye contact.
Like a robot.
Yeah. And the babies, even very young babies, they completely freak out. They try everything to get their parent back, to get that connection reestablished. They smile, they coo, they reach out.
And when it doesn't work, they start to get really distressed.
It's so sad. They might cry, they might withdraw. Some even show physical signs of stress, like changes in their breathing or heart rate. And it all happens in just a few minutes.
It's a powerful reminder of how vital that emotional back and forth is, that feeling of being seen, of being responded to.
It's their lifeline. And what the still face experiment shows us is that even a brief disruption in that connection can be really stressful for a child. Imagine what happens when those disruptions are more frequent, more prolonged.
It can really impact their sense of safety and security.
Absolutely. And the book makes the point that a child's greatest fear is that loss of connection with their big people.
Makes sense. If your whole world revolves around those relationships, losing that would be devastating.
And it's not just emotional, it's physiological too. It triggers that stress response in the body.
Yeah, the HPA axis, right? The fight or flight response.
Exactly. And what's so important is that consistent nurturing care actually helps kids develop the ability to regulate their own stress response.
So when a child is upset and we respond calmly, we soothe them, we help them calm down.
We're literally helping them build those neural pathways for self-regulation.
It's like we're giving them the tools to manage those big feelings on their own eventually.
But when care is inconsistent, unpredictable,
It can make that stress response more sensitive, more easily triggered.
and harder to shut off, which can set them up for all sorts of challenges down the road, anxiety, difficulty focusing, relationship problems.
So connection really is at the heart of it all. It's how we help kids develop those essential skills they need to thrive. Okay, so if discipline isn't about punishments and rewards, what is it? What's Dr. Lapointe's definition?
It's a great question. She completely reframes what discipline means. It's not about controlling behavior. It's about creating an environment where kids feel safe and connected.
So it's less about what we do to a child and more about how we are with them.
Exactly. It's a way of being, a way of relating.
And what does that look like in practice?
It's about creating opportunities for connection, showing them that we love them unconditionally, even when they're struggling. It's about being that safe harbor they can always come back to.
So even when they're having a tantrum, even when they're pushing our buttons, we're still there for them.
We're still that steady presence. We don't withdraw our love. We don't shame them. We stay connected.
It's about guiding them, not punishing them.
And shaping their behavior through that connection, through that sense of safety and trust.
And the book makes this interesting point about how our historical views of children might still be influencing how we parent today.
Yeah, like those old ideas that kids are inherently bad or that they're just blank slates waiting to be molded.
Right. And those ideas can stick with us even if we don't realize it and affect how we respond to our kids.
They can shape our expectations, make us more likely to resort to those controlling methods.
So it's important to be aware of those underlying beliefs. Okay, now, one of the most memorable concepts in the book is this idea of being the Hulk. Can you explain what that's all about?
Yeah, it's one of those things that really sticks with you. And it's not about being angry or intimidating.
All right, not the green rage monster.
Not at all. It's about embodying a certain kind of presence, a quiet confidence and capability.
Like, I got this.
Exactly. Kids need to feel that their big people are in charge, so that they can handle whatever comes up.
So they can relax and just be kids.
Because when they don't feel that, when they sense that we're unsure or anxious or maybe even a little bit scared,
They might try to step into that leadership role themselves.
which can show up in all sorts of ways, right? Like being bossy, demanding, refusing help, even when they need it.
That whole I do it myself thing.
Yeah. Or that precociousness where they seem older than their years.
And the book mentions that Linda, Honey, Just Listen video, which is often funny, but also
Who's just so sure of herself, so insistent. It's adorable, but it also makes you think about whether she's maybe feeling like she needs to be in control.
So it's not just about being firm or setting boundaries. It's about that underlying confidence.
It's about that Hulk swagger, as Dr. Lapointe calls it.
Yeah, and the book also distinguishes between bonding and binding. What's the difference there?
Binding is more about roles and authority. It's that I'm the parent, you're the child, so do what I say. Dynamic.
Okay, and bonding.
Bonding is about the relationship. It's about that genuine connection, that feeling of being seen and understood.
So it's not just about enforcing rules. It's about building that strong relationship.
And the book uses this analogy of a gym trainer, which I love. The trainer who just barks orders, who's all about authority.
Yeah, not very motivating.
But the trainer who connects with their clients, who understands their goals, who's encouraging and supportive.
That's the trainer you want to work with.
Right. It's all about that relationship. And it's the same with parenting. We can get so much further with connection than with just trying to control.
So kids need both, right?
Yeah.
They need to know that we're in charge, that we can handle things, but they also need to feel that deep connection with us. Okay, so let's get practical. How do we actually put all of this into practice? What are some steps we can take to move towards this connection-based discipline?
One really useful tool the book gives us is this idea of a needs barometer.
Like a gauge for figuring out what's going on with our kid.
Exactly. It's about becoming really attuned to their overall state, paying attention to their cues.
So are they tired, hungry, stressed?
Right. Are they feeling disconnected from us? Are they struggling with something developmentally?
It's like being a detective, trying to figure out what's driving their behavior.
Exactly. And once we have a better understanding of their needs, we can respond more effectively.
And the book talks about these 3 zones of responsiveness. Walk alongside, go low and slow, and do and conquer. Can you break those down for us?
Sure. So these are like different levels of support we can offer depending on the child's needs in that moment. Walk alongside is for when they're really struggling, maybe having frequent meltdowns, super anxious.
So high needs.
Yeah. And in this zone, we stay really close. We offer lots of reassurance. We maybe lower our expectations a bit.
So like if they're having a tantrum, we don't try to reason with them or send them to their room. We just stay close, maybe offer a hug, let them know we're there for them.
Exactly. It's about containment and connection. Then go low and slow is for when they have more moderate needs. We can offer some guidance, some support, but we're still going at their pace.
Undo and conquer is for when they're doing pretty well, they're regulated, they can handle more direct guidance.
Right. And it's important to remember that these zones aren't black and white. They kind of blend into each other.
So we're constantly assessing, adjusting our response based on what our child needs in that moment.
And that's where self-care comes in for us as parents, you know?
Oh yeah, we can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. We need to take care of ourselves so we have the energy and the emotional capacity to show up for our kids in the way they need us to.
So self-care isn't selfish, it's essential.
It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first so you can help others.
Okay. And the book also outlines some general principles for safe discipline, regardless of the situation.
Right. Some key things to keep in mind. First and foremost, physical safety.
For both the child and the adult.
Absolutely. Sometimes we need to step away, take a break, regulate ourselves before we can respond effectively.
And emotional safety too.
Right. So responding calmly, validating their feelings, even if we don't agree with their behavior.
And setting those intuitive boundaries, as the book calls them.
So limits that make sense for the child's age and stage of development.
And the book talks about this phrase, "No, I know." Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's a way of being both firm and compassionate. So we set the limit, the no, but we also acknowledge their feelings, the I know.
So like, no, you can't have a cookie before dinner. I know you're disappointed.
Exactly. It validates their experience without giving in.
And the book advises against trying to reason with a child when we're in the middle of a meltdown.
Their brains are basically offline at that point.
So save the lectures for later.
Right. Choose your moments.
And remember that the relationship is the most important thing.
Always.
And the book emphasizes the importance of debriefing afterward once everyone's calmed down.
Yeah, having those calm conversations where we can talk about what happened, how everyone was feeling, and maybe even problem solve together.
So it's not just about those intense moments. It's about creating an overall supportive and connected environment.
Exactly. Mindful responding is an ongoing thing.
And the book talks about all sorts of ways to foster connection and regulation on a daily basis.
Right, like routines and rituals.
Which provide that sense of predictability and security.
Yeah, kids thrive on that. And using subtle cues for boundaries.
Like a little hand gesture or a special phrase.
Something that reminds them without having to have a big confrontation.
And connected relaxation techniques.
So combining relaxation with that sense of connection.
Like cuddling up and reading a book together before bed.
Or doing some deep breathing together when they're feeling anxious.
And the book talks about this idea of busy minds.
Oh, I love that one.
It's like when your kid is worrying about something and you kind of acknowledge those worries and hold on to them for a little while.
So they don't have to carry them alone.
Exactly. And calming boards, which are those visual aids that can help kids focus on calming things.
And even creating personalized relaxation scripts that you can record for them.
So they can still feel connected to you even when you're not physically present.
So many great ideas.
And the book also addresses mindful support for kids who might have more heightened needs. Right.
Yeah, kids who maybe have more sensitive nervous systems or who've experienced trauma.
So their stress response might be more easily triggered.
Exactly. And for these kids, connection and understanding are even more crucial.
And traditional discipline can be especially damaging.
It can create this negative feedback loop of dysregulation.
So we need to be even more attuned, even more consistent with our connection-based approach.
It's about meeting them where they are and providing that extra layer of support.
And finally, the book talks about when and how to seek professional support.
And it really encourages parents not to wait until things reach a crisis point.
Right. It's about being proactive.
And seeking help can be a great way to build your support system, you know?
Your village.
Exactly. And the book talks about this family-centered approach to therapy, where it's not just about fixing the child, it's about supporting the whole family.
And Dr. Lapointe shares her own practice of often working with the parents first, without even meeting the child initially.
And she advises parents not to tell the child that they're seeking help.
To help maintain that sense of the parent's capability.
It's about empowering the parents to be the best Hulk they can be.
So to sum it all up, the message of discipline without damage is really about shifting our focus from behavior management to connection.
It's about understanding what our kids are trying to tell us through their behavior and responding with empathy and compassion.
It's about embodying that confident Hulk presence so they feel safe and secure.
And it's about remembering that good enough parenting focused on connection is so much more powerful than striving for perfection.
So for everyone listening, I encourage you to think about just one small shift you can make in your interactions with your kids.
Maybe it's trying to see the world through their eyes a little more often.
Or responding to a challenging moment with a little more patience, a little more understanding.
How can you connect with them in that moment instead of trying to control them?
Because building that strong bond can make such a difference in their lives.
It's the foundation for everything.
And it's the most rewarding part of being a parent, right?
It really is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been great talking with you.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
A thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to me and helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.